That silhouette.
Thank you. Good evening and welcome to Suffering in Silence with Evangelist Tia here on Love Bay Afrobeat Music Talk Radio. We're here with you every Friday evening at 7 p.m. Eastern. Love Bay, I want you to remember that we are rising out of the ashes together. Our topic on this evening, we are going to be talking about family and friend support. Our guest on this evening is Erin Mitchell. So, you know, Erin, she's one of our co hosts, but on tonight, Erin is our guest. We were going to have JD McCabe in with us. He was going to guest co host, but he is unable to join us this evening. But we will definitely have him back in the future when he's able to come. So, listeners, if you have any questions for myself or for Erin, you can send us your questions or comments via email at sufferinginsilencedv@gmail.com. You can also text us at 437-778-3299. If you have any resources that you would like to share with us on a national or local level from your country, your community, local organizations, or your faith community, you can also email us at sufferinginsilencedv@gmail.com. And as we were beginning, as we were coming in, I was just telling Erin that I am on vacation. I just got to Rehoboth, Delaware. I love the beach. So I'm in a hotel room right now. So I apologize in advance for any noise that may happen. I know there are some kids above me playing. There were some kids in a hallway playing. So between that and the dogs barking, it is what it is.
I'll take all fault for that.
This is a live program, so it is what it is. So with that, Erin, if you would greet our listeners and viewers on tonight.
Hi, Love Bay listeners. So good to be with you this Friday. What a great topic to get together on, supporting friends and family. I think that we all, anybody that has a heart, which we all do, at some point we're caring about friends and family. So I think to be able to walk away with some tools and some insights, and hopefully through our discussion tonight, everybody can get something out of it to bring back to their friends and family and even for themselves. Yes. So with that, I just want to say thank you for having me on the show. Love Bay has been so generous. Evangelist Tia has just been a part of my life for many years now, and I am always honored to be side by side with her, learning from her, and also just how much she's included me and my perspective into the work that she does with Rise Out of the Ashes. I am a board member of that organization that she founded, and she will tell you more about that probably in a minute or two. But it's really been such a bridge for me to for some of the work that I've done in my life, both in holistic health and holistic healing, as well as working in my nonprofit arena around violence against Indigenous women and girls. And then I think being included in this show, Rise Out of the Ashes, and these conversations that we have on Fridays, I personally have been able to go back into my own experience with violence and how that's impacted me. And so in a funny way, I think we all can get to a place where we think we're completely healed and over something and have moved on. And I think if we all just hold some compassion for ourselves for the process and not be afraid when something from the past kind of pops back up again into our lives, I think there's a reason for that. I think it comes back up whenever we are ready for it. And I think I was ready for it. I was ready to get back into some of those experiences from my youth and my young adulthood. And this show has awarded me the opportunity, not necessarily publicly with all of you at this point, but just in my own life, the ability to reflect on some of these conversations and how they land with me. And so I hope that these conversations that Tia represents on this show, Rise Out of the Ashes and Suffering in Silence, on Love Bay Radio, awards all of you that opportunity to be gentle with yourselves and to be reflecting on some of these issues, maybe in your own personal life, but maybe it's in the life of a family or a friend. So, a family member or a friend. So, yeah, with that, I'll turn it back over to Tia. Thank you.
So thank you so much, Erin. And what we want to do every week is start a conversation, to bring a conversation to the table for individuals, to put it on the table and talk. If it's in your own home, if it's with a friend or family, if it's an organization, if it's a church or religious atmosphere that you go back to, what we really want to do is open the door to a conversation. And I believe personally for me, the conversation always starts with just being as open and transparent as possible. Because again, we are people. You, myself, the producers, like we're here, like we put these programs together, but this isn't information that we're pulling out of thin air. Like at least I can speak for myself and for what I know of Erin and Jen and Bob and the work that we do and Mark, like we've walked this stuff out. Like this is what we literally do. And it's not just what we're helping other people do. Like this is my life. Like these are my experiences. And so to be open, to be transparent, to put this on the table, to open someone's heart and eyes, to start talking. And sometimes you just have to talk to yourself. So even just to say that, to put that out there in the atmosphere, that's what we really want to do. Every week, that's our goal. Start a conversation, because a conversation can lead to another conversation. And eventually, my personal prayer is these conversations lead into positive action where somebody's life is changed. There's a situation that you come out of, there's something that you begin to do differently, there's something that you change in such a way that is gratifying to you, that gives you a heart of courage, that gives you something that you didn't have before. So, conversation turning into action, which would lead to some positive change. That's what we want to do. And sometimes you have to have the same conversations over and over again. And if that be the case, then that be the case. That's what we want to do. So before we move into our topic, we want to share some resources. And Erin did mention our nonprofit, Rise Out of the Ashes, Inc. If you want to financially support us, you can go to GoFundMe and look for our nonprofit, which again is Rise Out of the Ashes, Inc. You can donate through GoFundMe. You can write a check made payable to Rise Out of the Ashes, Inc. Our P.O. Box is P.O. Box 15. We're in Drexel Hill, PA 19026. And Erin, I actually got a call today. There's a woman who needs some assistance. She's in a different state. I have to gather more information, but when I have that, I'll be touching base with you on it. But a big part of what we do, Love Bay, is emergency funding. We help individuals leave domestic violence situations. We help them with transportation. We help with relocation. We help with buying food, clothing, medication, personal toiletries, whatever could fall in the area of emergency funding. That's what we try to help do. But we need more funding to be able to do that. So I want to be able to help the woman who gave me a call today, and I'll get that information, go through it, and I'll see what we can do. But the worst thing for me is having to turn away individuals because we don't have the funding. I mean, once we run out, and it's like it's not there, it's not there, and I don't want to be in that position. So if you can help us, Love Bay, help us to help others, that would be great. That would be awesome. I want to share. Pastor Darius Daniels. He's a pastor of Change Church. His website is dariusdaniels.com. He has several locations in the United States, and his YouTube channel is Darius Daniels TV. I believe that he is a great support and encouragement. The National Domestic Violence Hotline, the website is thehotline.org. This is in the United States. Their phone number is 1-800-799-7233. We have RAINN, RAINN. Their website is rainn.org. That is the Rape, Abuse, and Incest National Network, also in the United States. And then the Pennsylvania Coalition to Advance Respect. Their website is pcar.org. Their number is 1-888-772-7227, and that was formerly the Pennsylvania Coalition Against Rape. So you know what that is if you recognize the name. Again, wherever you live, you can search locally, you can search nationally, you can search in your community for any domestic violence agency that you may need the help of, any agency dealing with sexual assault, homelessness, drug and alcohol addiction. You can search where you are to find the support that you need. And with that, we want to move into our topic on tonight, which is family and friend support. And I want to first point out that support can mean so many different things. It can be something different to the one who wants to give support, and it could have a different definition to the one who's receiving it. So, Erin, I want to start with you. I want to give you the floor and just ask you, like your definition or what you believe is important in support from the family and friend perspective, giving or providing to the victim or survivor.
Yes, thank you. I think that it looks different for everybody. So I'll just speak from my own personal perspective. I think a lot of how I have learned to become a great support to people, and I say that not because I'm, patting myself on the back, but because I've been told that by so many people, like, thank you for thank you for supporting me in this way. Thank you for your, that's been a frequent, something that's come back, and I've been able to hear that and get acknowledged for it, many, many times in my life. And it came through my own experience of, not getting the support that I needed. So I was able to learn from, like, wow, what would it have been like? And then, and with that question that I asked myself, I've been able to turn that around and be that person that I actually needed in those times of chaos, or those times of vulnerability, or those times when I was afraid, or those times when I was down and out. Mm-hmm. I've been able to be that person, for other people. I think that in order for, I think that was like a huge strength of mine for a majority of my life. But I will say that my newer definition really has grown into something where I cannot support friends or family who I don't have some kind of reciprocity with. So it doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to be, I give you flowers and you give me flowers. It can, right. But I have learned really in the last several years, to require a level of reciprocity, a level of return on investment. And that, I guess that could sound a little, mechanical or superficial, but I don't mean it in that way. What I mean is I've learned to value myself enough to feel that I'm worthy enough to be supported in the way that I support others. Yeah. So, now that being said, you could be in a role where that's not the case, right? Like, you could be a service worker, you could be in the healthcare field, you could be in a situation where you are, this is your work, this is what you're offering. And so then you get that support outside of that circle. But when it comes to friends and family, some friends are no longer friends anymore. And some right. family members that, while they are blood family to me, I've learned not to give myself away so much and be the only giver in the relationship. And so I've had to pull back quite a bit on how much I've given, on the family level. So, and I come from a huge family. So it's not just one sibling. I'm one of 10 children. And I think I have 81 first cousins. So
Well, I did not count up my first cousins. I'm the oldest of seven. One of my little sister passed away about 3 years ago, but I was the oldest of seven. My mother is one of 10. All of her siblings have children, so I have a lot of cousins. So I know what it is to have a big family. But I think you made a perfect point of being responsible with your own heart. That's essentially what it is. So those of us, what we do in your nonprofit, like that's your work. So you're in the service area. Some of us are, you may be a doctor, you may be a counselor, you may be a ministry. So your job is to care for other people in that capacity. But it's really different when you come into that circle of family and friends because you have to have boundaries. I think that's our magic word for everything. You have to have boundaries. So you can have a friend who is in close proximity to you. And because they're in close proximity to you, that doesn't mean that they're actually close to you. I hope that makes sense. So just because you can see me and you have some contact with me, that doesn't mean that you have access with me. So you have to be careful because the work that we do, some individuals will pull on you and use you, and not in a sense that they're using you purposely trying to hurt you or just drain you, but in effect that's what happens. You get drained because they're pulling on you. Like, I have this problem, I need you to fix it. I have this problem, I need to talk to you. I have this problem, I want to walk this out with you. At some point you have to draw a line. No, I'm not the person who can do this for you, but I can direct you to resources. So you have to know where to cut it off. You can't be up 11, 12, midnight, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning every night with the individuals around you because they're in a particular proximity to you. Just because you're related to me, no, you can't call me 3, 4 o'clock in the morning every morning so we can rehearse this. No, you have to follow the information that I've given you. You need to take advantage of this resource because you can, as you said, find yourself being in that position where you're giving and you're pouring out consistently to so many different people and spaces. And if it's not being poured back into you, you will be depleted, you will be drained, and you will not be yourself. So on in that area, when we think about friend and family support, you have to set boundaries. You have to be mindful of yourself. You do what you can do, but you have to know where you need to draw that line because unfortunately, there will be some individuals who will take advantage of your kindness and your openness and who will just expect it. You know, they just feel like for whatever reason, I have a right to your time. I have a right to your energy. I have a right to your emotions. And you have to set a boundary. I don't want you to be hurt. I don't want you to be in a bad situation, but I have to realize what my limitations are as well. So I think in that essence, I think you made a great point. Um, just because we're related, just because we live next door to each other, just because you happen to see me, if we go into the same space, no, that doesn't mean that you just have that access to me. And that can turn into a different kind of abuse. That can turn into a mental and an emotional abuse towards you if you're not careful with that. And unfortunately, um, situations end up in that way. You don't want it to, but sometimes it does. So I think that's a part of support that some individuals don't think of. So in some instances, you have to say, you know, I can't be your counselor, but I can help you find one, or I can give you information. I can point you in the right direction, but I can't do this. I can't put myself in that spot because you have to think of your life. You have to think of your emotions. You have to think of your mentality, your family, your children. If you pour everything out for everyone else and you have nothing left for you, then what? So I think that's a part that we don't often think of, but it's real. Burnout is real. And especially for those who like this is actually your job and then you have to come home and you're not getting a break from it. Um, it's a reality, and we don't want to sound harsh. We don't want to sound like we're being cold, but no, I think the word boundary comes in and is perfect in that spot right there.
Yeah, I was thinking when you were talking, Tia, about a big part for me around boundaries was just taking responsibility for how I was interacting. So instead of getting fired up and angry and holding a grudge and resentful for what I wasn't getting, you know, I've learned that I can really gain a lot of my center. Well, I can recenter myself and gain a lot of my self-worth and that courage that it takes to actually speak up for what your needs are, even if it's only to yourself, comes from taking responsibility of the role that you play instead of being a victim in those situations. So for example, if your family member is continually taking advantage of what you're giving, then you can't just solely blame that person. You have to at some point see, like, okay, what's in it for me? What's in it for me? And so sometimes what has been in it for me in the past has been my identity. My identity was so wrapped up in being the good girl and being the one that helped everybody, and helping everybody. I was able to get liked by everybody.
Mm-hmm.
um, and that was what was in it for me. Sometimes what was in it for me was maybe financial stability. Maybe there was maybe a sister, or maybe they were paying a phone bill for me. um, but that doesn't give them the right to be abusive, emotionally or mentally. So you kind of have to have the patience to unravel some of these things, and not necessarily go on attack or go on defense or blame the other person. You have to be introspective, and you have to really look at yourself in the mirror and ask, like, what's this about, and what am I afraid of, and what am I how am I willing be to have integrity in this relationship. And so sometimes that means, like, recognizing your part and owning it. And then if there is a possibility to write it and to have a conversation, to be able to communicate, sometimes that's available to heal a connection with a friend or family member, and have that integrity, and have that relationship rise above challenges and rise above misunderstandings and rise above our past, right? Because sometimes we enter into those relationships in a place where we aren't the same person anymore. We've learned, we've grown, we've come a long way, and we get pigeonholed as a certain type or a certain kind of relationship or person with this individual. And so it's really important to elevate those relationships as we grow together, instead of grow apart. And that requires two people at all times to engage on that level, to have that honest conversation, and to really not just blame another person, but be willing. Again, it's not necessarily that it is any of your fault, or it's just that we have to be willing to kind of see the big picture, like what's really going on here, so that we can be honest with ourselves. And then that affords us the ability to see it more clearly, and then be able to take the right steps.
So I think that is awesome, and absolutely being honest with yourself, being truthful with yourself on all angles. It's never an easy thing to do. But if you want to grow, if you want to move forward in your life, you always have to look yourself in a mirror and say, this is me. Um, this is what I am doing. This is why I am doing it. Even if you may not understand, but if you continue to be honest and you continue to just deal with one point at a time, one piece at a time, and you get to be who you are honestly and truly and deeply. Like you get to see your heart and realize, I'm doing this because I want to be liked. I'm doing this because I'm afraid. I'm doing this because of whatever. When you can get to that truth within you, then you'll be able to stand on your own 2 feet and you'll be able to make whatever decisions you need to make for yourself, within yourself, without anybody telling you what to do or pushing you one way or another. And so I really believe when you get to that point within yourself, if you are healthy yourself, if you have established boundaries, and then if you're in a situation of being a supportive family member or friend from that healthy standard, you still have to ask yourself some questions. Why am I doing this? Am I trying to be a hero? You have to be honest. And if you are in a stable place, if you're in a good place with yourself, and you're trying to be supportive, I really want to say you cannot be upset and don't be deterred by the response of the person that you're trying to help. So don't get overly excited and don't get weighed down and sad if they're not doing what you think they should be doing. If you're going to support, then it needs to be from an honest and healthy place, and you can only do what you can do. But if they're not operating in a way that you believe that they should be, you can't take that on. You can't take that home with you, and you can't let that keep you up at night. Even if you think things are going the way that they should, like if you're happy with a positive result, if you're talking someone through a situation and they said, well, I've cut off all contact with this person who's been hurting me, it's not going to happen anymore. Don't start jumping up and down, because there's a process. Because they may cut off contact today and then be talking to that person again tomorrow or in a couple of days. So because when you're dealing with abuse, when you're dealing with domestic violence, intimate partner violence, it's a process. It's a whole process that the person who is being abused does not fully understand. And so a person on the outside trying to be helpful, I guarantee that they won't fully understand the situation either. So going through a situation where you're being abused, oh my goodness, it will take you through highs and lows. Your emotions will go up and down. I mean, you can just feel your mind just getting away from you. That's the person who's going through it. Some of those same emotions and situations can happen for the person who's just standing by trying to be supportive. So you really have to be mindful of yourself. You really have to know what your limitations are. And I don't want to say don't care and don't have compassion, but you have to, again, set some boundaries. And your heart cannot be so emotionally invested that your life stops by what this person does or doesn't do, what happens with him or her. You can't function because you don't know what's going on with them. That's not healthy at all. It cannot be that way. That is not healthy support at all. And you yourself, you will go down very quickly, mentally and emotionally, trying to take on something that you probably never should have in the first place. So you really, really need to take advantage of all the information that is there, all the websites, all the hotlines, all the counseling, all of that information is available, not just for the victim or survivor, but also for family and friends. So you can read more, so you can learn more, so you can get educated on what the process looks like. So you can discuss your own feelings. You can discuss how this is making you feel. You can discuss um, how you want to help and maybe you can't, how you want to help and maybe you don't know what to do. Those are all things that you need to be able to lay out with a person who knows what they're doing if you're going to be involved in that capacity, because this is not a small thing. It's really not. And I would say, and Erin, I'll go to you after this. I would say also, once you make sure that you are okay, if you know that you are in a position of trying to be supportive, you're doing it for the right reasons, and you're in a healthy space. I think another thing I want to mention is that you have to honor the privacy of whomever this person is coming to you. If someone comes to you and shares anything with you specifically, don't wait for Thanksgiving, Christmas dinner, families around the table, all the friends are together, and you just feel like you just want to blurt this out because you feel like it'll be helpful to this person. Don't do that. You have to honor the privacy of the person who is coming to you. If they wanted the entire family to know, they would have told the entire family. If they wanted everybody in your friend group to know, they would have told everybody in that friend group. So you really, no matter what it looks like to you, no matter what you're thinking, you have to honor their privacy. Now we're talking about a life or death situation, that an emergency happening right in front of you. Yes, we know you call 911, you go to the police, call an ambulance, you do what you need to do. Then, if it is a true emergency happening right in front of you, but if someone has trusted you enough to come to you and tell you their story, even if they're just still trying to figure it out, that's not for you to go and share with anybody else. And some people can't handle that. For some people, to know that a loved one is being hurt or abused is too much for them to handle and they can't hold on to that. That's when you definitely know you need some outside help. You need a counselor to come in at that point. So I wanted to throw that out there, Erin.
Yeah, that's really really important. So I want to bring up, in my situation, I was a minor whenever I had abuse happening, and this abuser groomed my family. That word I hadn't ever heard of until Oprah did the documentary on um, the boys, the Michael Jackson documentary. But I never heard of the term groom before. And now that's a more common term, which is essentially when an adult kind of, makes his way into a family dynamic by being supportive in some way. This adult has some kind of power, either through status or through family relationship, and
Mm-hmm.
they become a really helpful person around the house or to the people, the caregivers of the child. And so in this instance, I think for me, because I was a minor, it was very important that when I shared with my siblings and my mom that this was happening, it was very important to me that now I didn't know this at the time, right? Like this is all in retrospect.
Mm-hmm.
But at the time, I didn't know what the right thing was. So whatever was shown to me was, oh, okay, I guess they're still going to have this guy over for dinner, like because he was actually our family priest, and so to me it was like, okay, well, I'm not ever talking to this person again, but I guess they're having him for dinner, so I'm going to go upstairs, you know. And so I think that, like, and that I don't want to throw my family under the bus because it's very complicated and there's a lot to it. But at the same time, I just want to put out there to the listeners that if it is a child abuse situation,
Mm-hmm.
that it is an adult. This is what I needed now looking back. What I needed was for the adults in the room to stand up for me,
Yes.
to never allow this predator or person into the home again, and especially not to roll out a red carpet for him, no matter what his status in the community was. So, or what he had done for them, which he had done quite a lot for them. They were there was a lot of traumatic situations that the family dynamic, that individuals, my siblings were going through, domestic violence, addiction, there was a lot of pain. And this person in power took advantage of that and was able to kind of get in the good graces, if you will, of the family
Mm-hmm.
and use that as a way to take advantage of a minor under their care.
Mm-hmm.
So, which was me. So just throwing that out there around, like, we are, what you were talking about, Tia, was adult on adult
Yes,
situation. And I just wanted to add that little caveat of, like, if it is a minor, that there's a completely different situation going on there.
absolutely. So if there are minors involved, there is no privacy with that. There is no, I'll let you bring this to whomever when you are comfortable. No, if there's a minor involved and an adult knows about the situation, that gets reported to authorities immediately. And there are some of us who are in positions where we are mandated reporters. Ministers, clergy are mandated reporters, teachers are mandated reporters, social workers are mandated reporters. But if you know that a child is being hurt, that does not have to be your job. That does not have to be your specialty. That does not have to be an area that you work in. If you know a child is being physically hurt, sexually abused, in any kind of way, you have a responsibility to report that. And what is just so hard and hurtful, and Erin, you touched on this before. It's like, I know I myself, I know I have a level of compassion when I'm dealing with people. I have within me just, I want people to be okay. But I think a huge part of me, that's just who I am as a person. I think naturally that's who I am. But also, it's because of my experience, because I didn't get that compassion, because I didn't get that care. Because when I did say, hey, I need help here, or this is going on, and I just need some direction, and I didn't get what I needed, I want so much within myself to make sure it doesn't happen to other people. And so even with that, in that instance, that's another reason and another way in how you have to make sure that you're not burning yourself out, that you're not crossing any boundaries, even unintentional, that you're not doing more than what you can do or what you should do. But I think that's worth noting, because I feel this personally for myself, and speaking personally for myself, it's very sad and it's hurtful that I had to learn, or that I did learn, how to be a good friend because it wasn't shown to me. Because I was hurt in those ways where, it was really important to me when I needed, that support and that compassion. I didn't get it. So a huge part of me is like, that's how I learned it. That's very sad, and it's hurtful. I would love to be the person that I am today, to have the compassion and the love and the care that I have for other people. I would love to have that, just being me. But I know part of that is because of the experiences that I went through, and it's not good. It doesn't feel good. And me personally, I feel like, I'm not going to let those experiences be wasted. Like, this is what I got from a lot of the experiences that I went through, was I learned how not to do the wrong thing, because the
Mm-hmm.
wrong thing was done to me. And it really sucks.
Yeah, it's kind of backwards, isn't it?
It sucks. It does not feel good. Um, but I think tonight we really want to be encouraging, and there are just so many different aspects of it. So it's not just, put the friend hat on and you just jump into the ring and you're just giving all you got. And no, you need some context behind it. You need to be careful. You need to be mindful. You need to be compassionate and sensitive. I really also wanted to stress the point of being encouraging, but having some education behind it. So if you find yourself in a position where, if you are trying to help or support a friend, You need to learn as much as possible about domestic violence, about sexual assault or addictions, whatever the issue is. You need to learn some information. You can't just start encouraging individuals. For instance, dealing with the situation with domestic violence. And I've had to talk to several people who they just thought the answer was a weapon. So who were actually advising people, if someone is putting their hands on you, go get a gun. No, it doesn't work like that. You That makes no sense at all, because if domestic violence is the issue, that's the issue that you have to deal with. You don't want to introduce other harmful things into the situation that's going to most likely end up hurting the person that you're trying to help. So I would not advise anyone to just start encouraging someone to go purchase weapons. Or it may sound really good, but just to say, hey, just go get some self defense training. You need some context behind that. Okay. You don't tell somebody, well, you go get a black belt in martial arts, you'll be fine. No, there is a reason behind self defense training. There is a proper atmosphere in which that should take place. The victim or survivor, there is a mental and emotional space that person needs to be in. Self defense training can build your confidence greatly. Working out, exercising can build your confidence greatly. It is a way of self protection. But if you have in your mind, I am going to take this course and then everything is going to be fine, that's not how it works. If you are dealing with domestic violence, you need to be planning, how do I get out of this house? How do I get out of this space? If I can't do it financially, then what is the financial issue that's keeping me here? Do you need a job? Do you need a different job? There's just so much more than just throwing out words. And so I just want to advise against just throwing out what we think are some quick answers, because that's not good. It's just not. um, Even the other side of just trying to push someone past their experience. You don't say to someone, it happened, it's over, all right, get on with the rest of your life. Go take a vacation, go to Hawaii, you be okay. Take some time off, spend some time by yourself. It doesn't work like that. There is some mental and emotional counseling, healing, therapy that an individual needs to go through. And if they don't, taking a trip somewhere is not going to help with that. So sometimes we want to be very encouraging, but we can just say or do the wrong things, and unintentional. Unintentionally, we can say and do the wrong thing. So I think I really want Love Bay. I want you to think about it. Think, if you are in a position where, first of all, you're healthy enough to be giving help, you need to also be in a position where you're giving the right kind of help. The wrong words can help. I'm sorry, the wrong words can hurt. The wrong actions can hurt. Um, so we gotta think about it. We really have to think about it, because it's not as easy as what we think, and it's not as easy as what we may want it to be. Erin.
Yeah, I think the whole conversation, family, friend support, I think the first thing is just to identify, are you on the receiving end or are you on the giving end? And I think they're just
Mm-hmm.
they're very different needs. Um, that So are you out there, listeners, thinking about somebody that you are being supportive to? Or are you out there thinking, wow, like I really am needing a different kind of support from my friends or family? And so
Yeah.
just really starting from that place to identify which is it. And really having, some a practical tool is just to get out a piece of paper or your phone or your tablet and write down a simple list of, like, here's me and here's who I support and here's how I support them. And then write down a list and write, here's me and here's who I'm supported by. and this is how they support me. And just to kind of see what does that look like. And again, remember, if you're supporting your cousin, she might not be on both sides of that list, and that's okay. Like, it's not always a one-to-one thing, but what you have to check in with is, what is this balance here? And is there a way to bring some of the adults on the list, into a place where it literally is going both ways, where you can draw that arrow, towards yourself, and you draw that arrow as a giving away from yourself as well to that same individual. And I think that's a really beautiful thing. But overall, to really make that list and to see, like, if you have 25 people on your list that you're given to, and you only have 2 on the list that you're receiving from, there's some reorganization, right, that needs to take place. There's some reflection that needs to take place, and assessing, and how do I get this to be a little bit more balanced, and what are those conversations that I can have. What I think another big piece, and then I'll give it back to you, Tia, but just to say that another big learning for me is not assuming that other people should know how to support you. If you want support, if you need a listener, if you need the vacuum to be run, if you need, if you need the dog to be walked, if these are ways that you can take the load off of your responsibilities and the stress in your life. And if there are people that you're doing for, and this is something they say, hey, how can I help? Or, what, can I have a conversation with you? I really am looking and needing some support with X. Can you help me with that? And just being willing, getting yourself to a place where you ask for what you need. It's like, it's just taken me freaking forever. I mean, I still can't do it. I am a lone soldier. I don't want to ask because I don't want to know. I don't want your crappy response. I don't even want to go there. But you know what? That's on me. I can't. Then I go through life isolated and doing it all myself, and then I'm disconnected and not in relationships. So you really, really have to have that humility and really come out of the trauma of not being supported in your life, and get to a place where you are willing to see yourself that you deserve support just like you give it, and that you're worthy of support, you're worthy of love, you're worthy enough to ask for what you need, and if that's space, if it's like I think you said on one of the shows, Tia, foot rub. Like, whatever, like, it's okay. They don't have to say yes, but we gotta ask for what we need, especially the women out there. That's true. It's just because we're geared up to be givers. We are. Yes. I mean, our bodies are made as givers. So this is who we are, and so we really, really have to get into that place of feeling that for ourselves, and that's like an inside job, right? Mm-hmm. So there's a lot we can do. There's a lot we can do inside of ourselves before we go and try to make these relationships and these supportive relationships with friends and family, or even be the support. Do you have any business trying to support, exactly 15 people when you can't even, when your back is like so given out by the end of the night because you're just exhausted and overwhelmed and depleted? I mean, do you really have any business? So, yeah.
Absolutely. A wounded person can't help somebody else. And too many situations are set up with women in particular being wounded from life itself and still having to be that one where we're giving and we're giving and we're giving. But a wounded person can't help another wounded person. That's only going to lead to more hurt, more disappointment. Um, and so again, I think it goes back to not only just setting boundaries, but the truth. The truth is okay. We have to operate in the truth. And if the truth is, whichever side of the coin I'm on, trying to give support or get support, if I can't, I can't. It's okay to say, I can't. I can't help in this area. I don't know how to help in this area. I'm not there. I'm not emotionally stable enough myself to help in this area, or I don't have the resources. It's okay to say that. It's okay to say, I can't, but maybe let me try to help you find someone who can. Let me help you look for another resource. And then if you're on the other side of the coin, it's okay to say, I need you to just sit here with me. Don't say anything. I need you to cook with me. Let's just cook something. Let's listen to music. Let's watch a movie. I need you to sit in silence. It's okay to say, this is what I need. I need you to help me clean a house, right? I need you to help me wash clothes. Whatever it is that you need, it's okay to say, I need. And if that person can't help you, then it's all right. But that's when, as Erin said, you have to adjust. What is your support system? Who is in your support system? Who are you giving support to? Sometimes we have to sit down and we have to go over that list. And I will also caution, as I said, one wounded person can't help another wounded person. So if someone comes to you, please don't try to relive your situation through them. And so, like I've shared some time ago, at the end of last year in December, I was sexually assaulted. I was sexually assaulted by a police officer. And I put it out of my mind. It was weeks later. I know it was in January when it actually came to my mind mentally and emotionally. It was like it just like flooded my mind out of nowhere. And I was thinking about it. There were two particular friends that I reached out to. And each one that I talked to began to relive their own story and what they and it wasn't the issue of them, like recanting their situation. It was they each tried to force me to file a complaint, and I'm like, I'm not doing it. Like that was the furthest thing away from my mind. I was really just beginning to just process like this. I'm like this happened. Like I was trying to wrap my mind around that. I wasn't thinking about pressing charges or anything else like that. And I didn't want to. And even when I had my moment and when I was able to mentally and emotionally make some progress, I did not want to press charges. I wasn't ready for what was going to come with that. Me being who I am, he being who he was. I didn't want it. That's not what I wanted. That's not what I needed. And they were just very, very adamant. And as they talked, I listened. They each said at different times, well, when this happened to me, I didn't press charges. Like, okay, well, so because you didn't, now you want me to. So I'm like, I can't process my own situation now. I'm like, now I got your stuff on my shoulders because like you're trying to push me to do what you didn't do for yourself. And it was completely and totally unfair. And it's like, I know who I am. I know what I know. Like I have the information. I know what to do, how to do it, if that's what I wanted to do. That's not what I wanted. That's not what I needed. I needed to just talk. I needed to just get through the moment. And what actually worked for me was that I had to talk to a counselor. Like that's when I had to go to the person who, like, this is your job. Like this is what you do, to be able to, walk me through that situation. A friend couldn't help me at that point. Well, at least not the particular ones that I reached out to. And I wasn't expecting that. I was not expecting that. I don't even remember like dialing the phone number to talk or anything. I just needed to talk, but I wasn't prepared for that response. And when I got that response from two different people, I was I was crushed. So it was,
Yeah.
I'm trying to process this.
A trauma
Right.
on top of a trauma.
Exactly. So I just want to say be very, very careful of not reliving your own situation or pushing your own thoughts and feelings onto another person, because you don't want to add to trauma. That's not helpful at all. So
Yeah.
again, like, I am who I am. I know what I know, even if I was oblivious to statutes and laws and whatever, even if I didn't have a clue. Like, that's not where my mind was. That's not what I wanted to do. That's not what I want to do now. Like, I'm fine. I'm okay. I I know how making a report can be helpful. I know how having paperwork can be helpful. I also know how it can hurt. I also know what it's like being in a courtroom. I also know what it's going to be like, um, if you have to sit before other police officers, judges, lawyers, whomever, and they're running through your history, and like everything is fair game. And you're talking about an officer. Everything is fair game, and all in the name of getting down to the truth.
Yeah.
And I was not, and I am not willing to to do that to myself. So I'm okay. And it was like they weren't okay with me being okay with that one point. Now, I mean, I was cracking up and breaking down on everything else, the help that I needed. But the one thing I didn't need help on, I was okay.
Yeah.
And for me, it completely changed the conversation. It completely changed me, um, trying to seek help in that point. And I had to fight. I had to fight within myself mentally and emotionally not to shut down. Vividly, I remember, I had to get homework done. I was still working towards my bachelor's. I knew I had assignments done, and but I had to work to not shut down and cut myself off to that. I had to fight that feeling and that thought of just keeping myself in my room away from everybody, and just shutting down. It took me a while to be able to move through that. But what really helped me was actually, talking to my counselor, who a counselor who was versed in this area, who was professional, who didn't have any personal stakes in this with me, who didn't care who I was, who didn't even need to, know my name or my background, wasn't looking for anything, from me.
Yeah.
So again, be very, very careful that you are
Mhm.
not, trying to force your own thoughts, your own opinions into somebody else's situation. Be very, very careful that you're not trying to, relive what happened to you through someone else. Because I felt like,
Mhm.
and they don't even know each other, but I felt like, it's like you're trying to, rectify what you didn't do for yourself through me.
Mhm.
And like, this is me, this is my life. I can't go back into your past and,
Yeah.
fix that for you. So,
Yeah.
again, that's an experience,
Mm.
um, that sucks to have
Whoa, that
to
is
go through
I'm
that.
I'm so glad you shared that because that is huge. And the example you gave is, oh my goodness, like a totally not what to do.
Exactly.
Don't do this. Don't be this person. Um, yeah, gosh. I also feel like the other thing is to not say anything. I mean, as simple if it's a friend or a family, the least you can say is, "I love you.
Yeah.
I love you. I'm so sorry. Thank you for sharing that with me. How can I help? What do you need in this moment from me right now? I love you. I'm sorry. How can I help?" How can I be supportive to you in this moment, in this horrible moment? What is that? It's making sure they know that they're loved, making sure that they are acknowledged for their experience, and then asking, what do you need?
Yeah. And then you leave it there.
Yeah.
It was don't if someone opens the door and shares any kind of story with you, that does not give you the right to continuously bring it up to them. If I come to you and I say, "Hey, do you have time to talk?" If I share something with you and I share it with you, that's it's not okay for 2 or 3 days later for you to call me and you just every time you see me you're bringing it up, or if I bring it up, if I bring up my issue, if I put my issue on the table, if I want to talk about it, it's okay. It's not an open door for you to continuously um, just stoke the fire. That's just that's not okay, because then you cross the line from being a friend and trying to be helpful to, are you just being nosy now? Is this a gossip situation now? um
Oof.
and I mean, you can quickly go from trying to be helpful to harassing. Like, I I wanted to talk about the colors in the rainbow. I didn't want to bring this up. Like, why why are you talking to me like this? If we're talking about ice cream, why are you talking to me about this police officer? Why are you asking me questions? I'm talking about Christmas or whatever. Why did you bring that up? It's not okay.
Mm-mm.
And it's there's so many different points, and there's so many different issues that can come out of trying to be a support to a family member or to a friend. I know we can't cover everything, but again, our point is to start a conversation, and hopefully, if anything in this has reminded you of yourself or a personal situation that you're close to, then if it makes you think, great. If there's something that you heard and you need to talk to somebody, you need to, maybe even if you need to go back and apologize, then do that. But again, we wanted to open the door for conversation, because I'm telling you, it's not, I can't explain the weight that sits on a person's shoulders who is a victim or survivor of domestic violence or sexual assault in their adult life, or someone who has suffered these issues in their life as a child, and now they are an adult trying to be an adult, trying to deal with issues from childhood. That in and of itself is a struggle. That in and of itself is very hard to deal with. And what a person in that situation does not need on top of that is someone trying to be helpful, but they're doing it in a wrong way. Even if it's inadvertently, pain is pain. So even if you didn't mean it and you're causing someone harm, no good is going to come from that. So again, we just wanted to open a door for the conversation. And I know we've said a lot already. I know I said a lot, but Erin, I want to
I
give you, I'll give you the
I
final word on tonight.
I told you we'd get through this hour like lickety split.
Yeah.
Just the two of us. We're so happy you joined us for this wonderful conversation, Love Bay. We hope you got some good gems out of it, for yourself, for your friends and family, for support. And we just love you all and want the best for each and every one of you. So thank you so much for your listening, and such a pleasure to be with you, such an honor to be with you, Evangelist Tia. And I always learn and grow and gain from being with you. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much, Erin. We miss you, JD, if you do get to see this, but he will be with us in the future. Erin, thank you so much on tonight. Love Bay, I really just want to emphasize again that we are people just like you. We are walking through life just like you. And I think that's something that makes our program real, is because you know that we are real people. We're here. We have to get up and go to work just like you. We have families to deal with just like you. We have lives to deal with just like you. So from real people to real people, we want to encourage you. Life is not over, and you just take one step a little bit at a time. That's what we really want to emphasize to you. Life is life. Life is not going to stop, but you can get through it. From one regular person to another, you can live your life and you can get through it. If you want to catch up on previous episodes of our program, you can visit our YouTube channel, Suffering in Silence DV. We thank you so much for joining Suffering in Silence with Evangelist Tia here on Love Bay Afrobeat Music Talk Radio. We're here with you every Friday evening at 7 p.m. Eastern. And Love Bay, we want you to remember that we're rising out of the ashes together. Good evening. Thank you so much, Erin. Thank you for being here.